to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 WatchMojo video game lists that haven't aged well.
I'll admit, you weren't half bad, Sonic.
Half bad? Are you kidding? He was all great!
For this list, we'll be looking at our video game related videos that have admittedly become dated due to the rank, content, or changing mentalities. However, we're not really focusing on videos that became outdated because of subsequently released games. Which video game list do you think aged poorly? Let us know in the comments. Number 10, PlayStation 5 vs Xbox Series X.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and in this installment of Versus, we're going to pit Sony's PlayStation 5 against Microsoft's Xbox Series X.
We published this video in March 2020, 8 months before either of these consoles hit the market.
Aside from having no hands-on experience, the Series S hadn't been officially announced yet, and we didn't even know what the PS5 would look like.
So we just assumed that it would have been a better design. Well, the Series X suddenly doesn't look so bulky when stacked up against the PS5. We were also only half right about the PS5 being black. While we don't necessarily disagree with the final verdict, we should have waited to give a more thorough analysis. In due course, the video would have had longer legs. At least we learned our lesson for when they released the PS6 and whatever Microsoft calls the next Xbox.
So far, it seems the PS5 is more impressive. Of course, there are still many unanswered questions, so whether the PS5 can keep up this hype until launch remains to be seen.
Number 9, top 10 most anticipated games of 2017.
For this list, we'll be looking at the games that have us on the edge of our seats with anticipation.
Every anticipated list eventually becomes dated. With some games though, it can start to look like they'll never come out. Such was the case with Kingdom Hearts 3. After waiting over a decade, we cheekily implied in this video that the game will probably never get released. While this was intended as a joke, kind of, Square Enix proved us wrong in time. We might have jumped the gun the following year by putting Kingdom Hearts 3 on our most wanted games of 2018, but at least we finally got to play it in 2019. If we could go back, we'd tell our younger selves to never say never and to cancel our pre-orders for Mass Effect Andromeda. Oh, the wasted potential.
Any of the games on this list will be worthy of your time next year, but only one will completely annihilate your social life, and we're betting that's going to be Andromeda.
Number 8, top 10 video games with great stories.
Who says great games can't tell great stories? Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 video games with great stories.
Although we claim to make our lists as timeless as possible, we'd be lying if we said that WatchMojo doesn't occasionally succumb to recency bias. In October 2013, Bioshock Infinite was still fresh in our minds, topping our list for video game stories. However, when we re-evaluated the lists years later, we found that another game released in 2013 held up a lot better on a narrative level. For our 2018 Redux, we placed the original Last of Us number 1, while Bioshock Infinite didn't even make the honourable mentions. This isn't to say that we think the game aged poorly, as there's still a ton to admire. In retrospect though, we don't think the story is quite as smart as it thinks it is.
Brother, the only way to Columbia is through rebirth in the sweet waters of baptism.
Number 7, top 10 saddest deaths in video games.
We hope you have a box of tissues handy.
Shadow of the Colossus is full of emotional moments, and most would agree that the saddest sees Wanda's loyal horse Agro fall into the river. Had Agro's journey ended there, her place on the top 10 saddest deaths in video games would have been more than warranted. In the end though, Agro limps back to the temple, alive and mostly well. So why did we include Agro on this list? Honestly, we have no excuse. We guess you could say that we were still finding our mojo in 2014. If oversights like this showed us anything, it's that we needed to up our research going forward. Well, you know what they say, live and learn or die stupid. We're just glad that Agro lived. Number 6, top 10 most annoying video game characters.
Leave it to these guys to spoil the mood.
What are you talking about?
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're reduxing our list of the top 10 most annoying video game characters.
We're getting into retro WatchMojo territory now. We'd like to think that our channel has come a long way since 2012, when some of our videos were only about 3 or 4 minutes. It's not the length that dates this video, however. It's mainly the number 4 entry where we said all of Sonic's friends are annoying and forgettable. In the comments, fans rushed to the defense of Tails, Knuckles, and especially Shadow the Hedgehog. Sometimes we underestimate how passionate Sonic's fanbase is. While it can be frustrating keeping track of everybody, it was an unfair generalisation to say that all of Sonic's friends are obnoxious. So when we revisited the list in 2015, we limited ourselves to just one Sonic character. Seriously, buzz off on my chow.
It feels good floating. Bet jumping higher would be a breeze here.
Number 5, Top 10 Star Wars games.
But only some of these adventures to a galaxy far, far away have been strong with the Force.
We're going back even further for this list to the year 2011. Like a lot of our lists from this era, the video quality isn't great, and the script could have been more fleshed out. Still, we'd look back at this top 10 with some pride if it weren't for several obvious omissions. The Force Unleashed, Jedi Academy, and Republic Commando all would have been worthy of shoutouts. People were especially disturbed by the lack of Battlefront and its even better 2005 sequel. Suffice to say, the Force wasn't strong with this list, hence why we remade it in 2015 with Battlefront displayed in the thumbnail and Battlefront 2 taking second place. Hey, if George Lucas can update the movie several times, we can tweak our lists.
Battlefront 2 improved on every single aspect of the first entry.
Number 4, Top 10 Worst Video Game Consoles.
But the 360 was popular and successful despite these flaws.
Since this list came out in 2013, we haven't seen the Philips CDI or Virtual Boy pick up many new fans. Even if some of these selections were justified, this list was rightfully criticised for several reasons. The Sega CD, while flawed, had some gems like Snatcher and Sonic CD. The Magnavox Odyssey was a product of its time, but it was also revolutionary, being the first home game console. And don't even get us started on the video's factual errors. The Odyssey came out in 1972, not 1975. We also stated the 3DO Interactive Multiplayer retained its staggering $700 retail price until the bitter end, which isn't true. 6 months following its debut, the 3DO had its price slashed by almost $200. Number 3, Top 10 PlayStation Fails.
Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we'll be counting down the top 10 biggest PlayStation fails.
You can tell that this list was a product of 2012, based on the low-res gameplay footage and the runtime, which clocks in at just under 4 minutes. Looking back at top 10 PS3 fails probably would have been a more accurate title, as we gave little focus to past-gen missteps like the 2004 holiday demo disc. On top of all that, some of our selections were minor quibbles rather than legitimate fails. Sure, PlayStation's mascot confusion can be frustrating. When there are so many memorable candidates though, it's hardly a failure. Sony hasn't strayed far from the original controller layout over time, but why drastically overhaul a classic? We didn't even mention the dreaded yellow light of death. And yes, we realise we mispronounced Linux.
We've got a sort of green-blue light, a flashing blue light.
That's it.
There's no yellow, and there we have it. Look at that. Look at that.
Number 2, Top 10 Nintendo Fails.
This gaming giant has made its fair share of mistakes.
You don't need to point out the irony that so many of our top 10 fails lists are tied to WatchMojo's own failures. In this video's case, we have a few regrets. The GameCube's design is much more charming than we remember, and we probably should have mentioned Nintendo losing Rare to Microsoft. The entry that really doesn't hold up, however, is the 3DS. When we published this list in December 2011, the handheld console was still struggling from its disappointing launch. We were quick to assume that the 3DS was dead and buried, which couldn't have been further from the truth. Not only did Nintendo turn things around, but the 3DS family went on to sell over 75 million units, practically printing money.
The new Nintendo 3DS. It's a game changer.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Top 5 Most Respected Video Game Developers.
For this list, we'll be looking at what we consider to be the most well-respected video game development companies, either past or present.
Although Though we said these 5 developers could do no wrong in 2018, they've all come under fire since. The Last of Us Part 2 not only divided players, but provided a window into Naughty Dog's reported crunch culture.
CD Projekt Red's reputation took a hit thanks to Cyberpunk 2077's buggy launch and toxic workplace accusations. Rockstar North is trying our patience by not announcing GTA 6 already, and don't even get us started on the disastrous GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. The California Department of Fair Employment and Housing versus Activision Blizzard is still unfolding. As for Nintendo, there's a lot to unpack, but we'll just say this for now. $50 for the Switch Online expansion pack? Are you kidding us? As Majima007 wrote, this aged about as well as milk left outside to spoil in the summer sun.
In the mood for more awesome gaming content? Be sure to check out this video here on Mojo Plays. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.